Fans of miniature battle games and fantasy books might just be getting their dream crossover. Developers of the Subnautica games have recently announced that they'll be teaming up with fantasy author Brandon Sanderson to make a cool-looking miniatures battle game. And in today's video, we'll be telling you everything we know about this anticipated new release. So let's dive right in. First off, the game features turn-based strategy and digital miniatures. The game, called Moonbreaker, is set to feature turn-based strategy combat. It involves fantasy miniatures fighting it out in typical tabletop fashion, and it definitely looks like it's brimming with charm. The team behind it wanted to bring forward a digital miniature experience that we haven't really seen in a video game yet. By setting it in an expansive sci-fi universe, they've ensured that they'll have room for exploration over the years. On their Steam page, Moonbreaker is described as having competitive gameplay and ongoing content releases, so it's likely that we'll get a whole load of new additions to it as time goes on. Plus, with deep customization, it's likely that players will be able to fine-tune every part of their gameplay to their needs. The developers have also stated that they want the game to be highly accessible. This means you won't really need to be a veteran turn-based strategy player to have fun. The game apparently features a whole variety of gameplay experiences that are designed for a wide range of players, from casual audiences to more competitive ones. That definitely sounds like a good choice to us. Next up, what will we be doing in Moonbreaker? As we mentioned earlier, the game involves players facing off against opponents through turn-based strategy. The encounters are said to be fast-paced, and players will have to lead their units. One of the complaints that a lot of these types of games face is that they tend to get quite repetitive when you're making the same moves turn after turn. And for that, it seems the developers, Unknown Worlds Entertainment, have opened up the gameplay possibilities quite a bit. It's very likely that the players won't have any two games feeling the same just because of how much there is to do and customize. At the heart of it all, though, is the strategy. If you want to win it all, you're going to have to outsmart your opponents through clever use of ship assets, roster makeup, map knowledge, and more. That sounds like a lot of work to us, but we're sure strategy game fans are already salivating at the thought. The game is said to include both battles against AI opponents and other players, so it's likely there will be a competitive ladder where the best of the best will go head-to-head against one another. We can definitely see it becoming a huge hit, especially on streaming platforms like Twitch. With Unknown Worlds Entertainment putting a strong focus on reducing the barrier to entry to the game, it's likely that they'll get a huge following trying it out. Moving on, what do we know about its unique sci-fi world? While we're sure it's not the main focus, the science fiction world that Moonbreaker is set in is likely to be a big pull for some people, especially because it's being crafted by none other than Brandon Sanderson, who many might recognize to be the author behind the hit fantasy novel series Mistborn. Sanderson is apparently going to be working alongside the Subnautica developers to ground the game in an interesting world that adds a lot of flavor to the turn-based strategy battles. It definitely looks like they've tried hard to make sure that the game's oozing with fun and unique little details about the world that it's set in. From the types of units to the ships and captains, players will have almost too many ways to design their experience based on what they like. Plus, we're sure with Brandon on board, there will be no shortage of great world building to add to this newly crafted universe. And let's not forget the other big thing that has everyone excited, the digital miniatures. On their Steam page, the team behind it describes Moonbreaker as having constantly evolving painting tools that allow for next-level unit customization. With beautiful finishes and decals, this really seems like it's going to be a dream come true for anyone that loves miniatures. And let's just say, we already can't wait. And now, when can we get our hands on the game? The game already has a page on Steam, but it's not quite available to play just yet. Players will be able to set into the fantastical world of Moonbreaker from 30th September. For anyone who'd like to get in even earlier, you can register to playtest Moonbreaker by requesting access on the Steam page. But we're not really sure if Unknown Worlds Entertainment is looking for playtesters just yet. Let's also keep in mind that while we might be able to start playing the game from the 30th September, it will still be in the early access phase at that point, so it'll be far from the full release. If we know anything about early access games, it's that they're not always close to the finished product, and the developers have made sure to clarify that. They've stated that the game is in active development and is likely to be full of bugs, missing features, and potential performance issues. So for anyone who's going to be diving into the game, it's important to keep all those things in mind and not get too frustrated at any issues that'll pop up from time to time. But with a game like this, we just really can't wait to test it out, even if it isn't fully finished. And luckily, it looks like we won't have to wait too long before we get our chance to do so. Until then, the developers recommend signing up for their newsletter to learn about any progress they've made, as well as any recent announcements. And with that, let's move on to our next segment. Now in other news, next up, BioShock movie finds its director. Gamers rejoice. It looks like Netflix's BioShock movie has finally found its director. The film is set to be directed by Francis Lawrence, Lawrence, whom you might remember from movies like Constantine, I Am Legend, and Catching Fire. And that's not even the best part. The director is going to be working alongside Michael Green, who's writing the script. Green has worked on movies like Logan and Blade Runner 2049, so you know this project is in the right hands. Fans can barely contain their excitement, but of course, they're hoping that Netflix doesn't butt in too much. They've got a habit of meddling with projects and changing them to a point where it can barely even be considered an adaptation of the source material. With how much of a masterpiece the game is, we're really expecting this movie to be equally amazing. Currently, it looks like the project is still in the very early stages of development, and we don't even know if a proper script has been finalized yet or not. So it might be years before we get to see it. But hey, quality takes time, right? Also, Xbox Boss says there will be less and less console exclusives. If you're not a fan of console exclusives, then we might have some good news for you. Xbox boss Phil Spencer seems to think that there will be less and less console exclusives as time goes on. Spencer states that they love being able to bring in more players and reduce friction, allowing everyone to play with their friends regardless of what device they have. While it's true that companies have to make exclusives to ship hardware, Phil still thinks that this change will be better for the industry in the long run. And we can't help but agree. Some of us are still waiting to finally be able to play Bloodborne on PC. Come on, Sony. Whether or not you're a fan of console exclusives, there's no denying Phil's got a good point. We've even seen Sony take a lot of actions recently towards bringing their games to PC. Just in the last year alone, we've gotten God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and a few others. So who knows? Maybe we'll get PlayStation games coming to PC more often from now on. Lastly, the Umbrella Academy director is set to adapt Horizon Zero Dawn for TV. The director behind Netflix's Umbrella Academy, Steve Blackman, will be adapting Horizon Zero Dawn for TV. The project is being helmed by Steve's very own Irish Cowboy Productions. The newly launched studio has already signed a multi-year deal with Netflix. Blackman is set to write and produce the Horizon Zero Dawn series as part of this deal. While we don't have many details about the adaptation, we do know that Blackman has stated that Aloy will be the show's main character, much like in the games. The game has received praise for its unique storyline that mixes futuristic machines with primitive tribes. It's likely that the adaptation will be set at some point in the game's storyline, and we might even see Rost and some other fan-favorite characters show up. That's a wrap for this video. Are you excited to play this new game from the developers of Subnautica? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.